Hello, everyone. McGee here again with another draft battle analysis and recap video. This time, my week 2 match against David in the XPDLA Draft League. So, this is the matchup we're going to take a look at today. Before we dive into the actual match, though, we're going to take a quick look back at our teams. So, the team he had fully available to him and the pieces I brought to address that. So David is part of a word I cannot say very well, the British Bruxish. So I'm only going to say that once. Uh, some of his biggest offensive pieces that were of concern for me were, of course, the Tapu Lele, the Excadrill, the Silvally, the Dracozolt, and the Gyarados, as well as the Mega Sceptile. His team was full of a lot of offensive options, a very reliable sand mode with Gigalith, Dracozolt, and Excadrill, and then some other special attacking options that threatened me as well, namely the Tapu Lele and then the Mega Sceptile, as well as a very strong defensive piece in the Umbreon. So being able to address the sand and then the Lele were of the most concern for me going into my prep. And so the team was built to kind of address both of those factors. Dragapult is going to be running a Choice Scarf because with a Choice Scarf and the speed investment he is at, he is guaranteed to outspeed Excadrill max speed in the sand. So a Jolly Excadrill in sand, it will still outspeed, and then can reliably KO with a Hydro Pump. Shadow Ball, Dragon Pulse, and Thunderbolt as just general coverage for things like Lele, for things like uh, Gyarados, or Dragon Pulse for his Dracozolt, just so I had options to address some of his hyper offense if he was to get running in the sand. And so he was a good reserve in the back in case any of that blew up. What will end up being the most important piece on my team is the Mega Diancie. Rock Polish, because after a Rock Polish, and again at that speed investment, it will outspeed Excadrill and Dracozolt in the sand. So if I get a Rock Polish off, I'm no longer concerned about sand sweeps. Moonblast, Power Gem, Earth Power, so just really strong, solid special attack options. The biggest obstacles Diancie had in trying to accomplish its sweep were always going to be the Lele, which it couldn't reliably one hit KO, and then the Gigalith, because Gigalith in the sand gets that special defense boost, and there is just no move that could one hit KO it. So these are two mods that had to be whittled down in order for Diancie to be able to come in and threaten to sweep. Skarmory, because Skarmory addresses Excadrill incredibly well. Excadrill just simply doesn't have a good move to hit Skarmory with. Rocky Helmet to not only take away its Iron Head stab option, but to limit its ability to be a rapid spinner. Because if we look at his team that he has, it's very, very limited on hazard control options. Basically, it's relying on either Excadrill to rapid spin or Silvally to defog. Outside of that, he really has no control over hazard. Yes, Girder can defog as well, but Girder is not a mon that's going to come almost any week, so it's not a good, reliable defog option. So he's essentially down to two, and Excadrill is almost certainly always going to come, and it almost certainly will carry rapid spin. And so it's just a really good way of punishing that, especially if it doesn't have leftovers to get some of that health back. So it's just really built as a very strong counter to Excadrill so that no sand sweeps were happening. It deals with Gigalith well to an extent. It can 1v1 it with body press. And then Whirlwind was there on the concern that Gyarados might go behind a sub and try to set up and sweep because Skarmory just doesn't have a good move to deal with that. But instead it can just Whirlwind it out, and Gyarados just doesn't have a way to get strong enough, fast enough to really threaten the Skarmory. So it was just a really reliable option to remove that and prevent it from getting any sort of setup sweeps. Some of the other defensive options of the team were Blissey. Blissey largely handles Tapu Lele pretty well. Obviously, Specs Psyshock is going to be the exception there, but it has just a really strong special defensive option. If Mega Sceptile is a special defense option, it is going to handle that well as well. So Soft Boil just to keep healthy. Stealth Rock again, because if I can whittle his team down, Mega Diancie has a really easy time coming in and sweeping because I just need to get a couple of pieces to a point where I can break them. Silvally also being one of them that I just need to kind of get them below 50%, and then it's a really, really easy time for Diancie to come in, look for an opportunity to click Rock Polish, and then just sweep the game. Teleport, because Teleport gives me momentum. Blissey comes in front of things like Pyroar, Sceptile, things that can pretty much force out because they can't do enough damage. And then I can predictably get that teleport, keep momentum on my side, and just try to assert pressure. And then Seismic Toss just so it can, do things like break a sub on Gyarados or just do general damage so it's not useless as a damage doer. Gastrodon again, because Gastrodon is absolutely essential if he brings Dracozolt. Otherwise, I have no way to prevent him from clicking Bolt Peak and just doing massive damage. So Gastrodon pretty much hard walls anything Dracozolt wants to do. Bolt Peak can't hit. Dragon Claw's okay, but it's not super strong. It can Draco Meteor, but it's EV'd in a way that unless it's pure special defense, there's no way I'm getting 2-hit KO by a Draco Meteor, barring crits. And so I can just recover and get past that. He didn't have any threatening water types, so there wasn't much reason to run Storm Drain. Sticky Hold just kind of lets me hold on to that item so I can ensure I keep leftovers active throughout that game. So Earth Power just hits a lot of things. Recover is really relevant. Ice Beam, there was a relevant. Oh yeah, right. Ice Beam for a predictive switch in if he came in with the Sceptile that was Mega because that would obliterate it with the quad weakness. And then Toxic in case I wasn't sure what was going to come in or I thought it would be something I couldn't hit overly hard. Namely, think something like Tapu Lele, so I could at least put it on a timer. And then finally, my best answer to Tapu Lele was going to be Alolan Muck. So Assault Vest with that spread pretty much guarantees I could take uh, a 3-hit KO from its hardest hitting Moonblast. And then obviously I'm guaranteed the immunity from psychic attacks. And so it really just limits the potency of a Tapu Lele because either it goes for the Moonblast to try to break Muck or it goes for the Psyshock to try to break Blissey. And if I call either right, it does nothing. And so it's forced back out. If it specs, I'm not too worried about a Scarf set. I'm not too worried about any other set. So just being able to neutralize the potency of a spec set was the major priority in that defensive setup between Blissey and Alolan Muck. So Muck, with the addition of Pursuit, also just really punishes Lele for coming in because now Lele is forced out. Pursuit's going to do around 60% plus the chance to poison, so it just gets really punished if it wanted to come in. And then it can also address something like Orbeetle, but offensively, I'm not too worried about what Orbeetle is going to do. So Muck's kind of just an option in the back if I need it against Orbeetle, but it's not really its main concern. Um, it deals with Sceptile well too, because Sceptile can't. I mean, Sceptile could be an offensive Dragon Dance, does Earthquake. That obviously is a problem for Alolan Muck. But if it's a special attacker, it's again forced out. It doesn't want to take the Poison Jab. It doesn't want to take the Pursuit. So it's just a really good spot for Muck to be in if it's against a special attacking Sceptile. But that's the team. That's kind of what I prepped to deal with. I wasn't too concerned about what Umbreon was going to do. Umbreon has an awful time against Mega Diancie. It can't Toxic it. It can't Foul Play it for any reasonable damage. It'll get broken up too quickly by Moonblast. Pyroar, again, doesn't do anything to Blissey, so it's just never going to get any sort of momentum. Gyarados was more or less handled by Skarmory. Dracozolt was entirely walled out by Gastrodon. And then Excadrill was entirely walled by Skarmory. So Lele was the most concerning breaker that he had in his team, just because I get into a predicts game, and if you get a couple of predicts wrong, things start breaking. So the Lele was the one I did not want to see going into this matchup, and I was very fortunate to see it not there in team preview. It made sense why he didn't bring it. It just doesn't do a lot for him if he can't get good predicts, and I have the pieces to make it hard for him to make an accurate predict, and he gets punished for being wrong. So basically, looking at this team, and we'll see this play out. I'm in a very, very favorable position. I know Pyroar is useless against Blissey; it just doesn't have a way to deal with it. Umbreon can stall for him a little bit, but it's not going to do a lot. Something I did in this match that I haven't gone over yet is he brought his Orbeetle week 1 and set webs. I was wary of the fact that my speed tiers were specifically calculated. So I made an effort to make sure I wasn't in danger of being hit by those webs in a way that mattered. So Dragapult's running Clear Body, so webs don't affect it. And then Diancie before it Mega Evolves is Clear Body, so I was never going to Mega Evolve Diancie until I was ready to go for a sweep or unless I was desperate. And so those were my offensive pieces, and they weren't threatened by his webs whatsoever. I don't care what happens to Blissey speed, Gastrodon speed, Muck speed. They're all terrible anyway. So who cares if they're a little slower? Skarmory's also pretty bad speed, but it's not going to matter because it's a flying type. So I really wasn't concerned about his web. So when I saw Orbeetle in team preview, I was very satisfied because I knew it just wasn't going to do anything relevant to me. Excadrill, I wasn't worried about anymore because it can't do anything to Skarmory. Pyroar has a really hard time doing anything to Blissey. Breon isn't really going to break things. I can just pivot into Blissey if I need to, or Muck if I'm concerned about Toxic, because both of those have outs from the Toxic. And then Silvally is a bit of a wild card. If he goes a mix set with like a Fairy typing and then has Thunderbolt as well, my answers like Skarmory aren't there anymore or Muck aren't there anymore. So Silvally was a bit of a wild card, but everything else I saw in team preview, I was very happy to see because I had really strong answers to all of those. And so my game plan, as soon as I saw this, was basically to just focus on hazard stacking because he's basically forced to spin those out. All of his things are going to take chip damage as the game goes on. So it's just not something his team wants to be dealing with. And if I can get specifically the Silvally and then just a little bit of chip on the Excadrill, I kind of start running through this game. Because I'm trying to scout for Excadrill's item a lot in this game, as you'll see, because I don't know if it's going to be a Shukaberry to try to call if a Diancie is going for Earth Power on it. So I'm trying to be very cautious of that and get it to a low enough point where it doesn't matter. But everything else, I'm very confident Diancie can tear through if I just get those two things chipped down. So let me put that down to slow. He leads Excadrill. I lead Diancie just in case. I lead Diancie on the off chance he leads Orbeetle again, because if he goes Orbeetle, I get to click Power Gem for free. I don't care what Orbeetle wants to do. I'm not going to Mega Evolve. That was never a consideration turn one. It was just that if he led Orbeetle, I could pretty freely click Power Gem and do some free damage to something. But he leads Excadrill, which again is fine by me. Um, so I come in with Skarmory. He goes for Iron Head, trying to go for a turn one KO. I wasn't worried about that. And so now he's forced out. I get a layer of spikes down because I know he's forced out. And then I'm just going to make the safe call every time because I know what his pieces can't do and they can't break some of my defensive options. Pyroar has no answer for Blissey, so it just does a little bit of chip and then it's forced out. Blissey gets a free turn to click Stealth Rocks here, and there's just nothing it can do about that. So Blissey clicks Stealth Rocks for free. Orbeetle's back in. Orbeetle's going to come and click Webs. I don't care about those Webs at this point in the game. It's just not a real concern for me. So I get to teleport out. I come back in with Diancie. I get to click Power Gem for free because I know Orbeetle doesn't have a coverage move for Diancie. That's part of being a Generation 8 Pokemon. They don't have great coverage moves. And so Power Gem's free. This Excadrill is getting worn down already, which is very happy to see. So it's already nearly at the point where I can break Excadrill if I Mega Evolve, but I'm still wary of the fact that no item is procced, and I'm concerned about Shuckleberry. It's forced to spin, but it has no leftover, so it's just whittling itself down, trying to clear these hazards. And so again, I just get free chances to keep setting these spikes, and as long as I keep playing the safe option, he's just in a lot of trouble. And so I'm just going to keep setting spikes and stealth rocks and forcing his pieces to come in and keep clearing those because his only clearance options are Excadrill and what is likely Silvally. And so if I just keep putting these on, they both are going to keep taking chip damage to that. I can easily wall out his Pyroar. I can easily wall out his Excadrill. So he's just in a really bad spot. When this Silvally comes in, I'm wary of the fact that it might have coverage options for both Skarmory and Blissey. So I'm trying to be very patient and cautious about that. And so I'm kind of being cautiously scouting here, but it doesn't look like it does. It comes into the fog because it can't rapid spin anymore with Excadrill, and I'm just going through the motions again and again and again because he doesn't have a lot of options to deal with me, and so it's just about putting rocks up. It's about putting spikes up. It's about making sure his pieces whittled down, and to the point I'm confident that I can sweep with Diancie because I'm not needing Dracopult as much anymore because there is no sand mode, and that was kind of his primary goal was to prevent sand mode from sweeping. And so we're just going through the motions of these. I don't care that he puts up rocks. They're negligible damage to most of my team. He really cares that I'm putting up all those hazards. So it's just a lose-lose for him, no matter what's happening right now. He's wasting turns trying to match and scare me off from setting hazards, but it's just not beneficial to him while it's fully beneficial to me. Pretty much all his pieces are where they need to be now for me to do the damage I need to do. Um, you know, I've got Muck in here now to threaten it because now I'm pretty sure it doesn't have a way to do much damage, but I need to force Silvally out to continue the hazard stacking and continue the basically oppression by those. So I get a pursuit because I'm just trying to do chip damage at this point, make sure it's weak enough where it's not a concern. No reason for Muck to 1v1 this Pyroar, so back to Blissey, put the rocks up again, and then pretty much at this point in the game, I've broken things to where I need to break them. Silvally is at 39%. I'm about to put up rocks so that if it comes back in, it comes back in at 27%. Excadrill is at 27% without a leftovers. So I know that if I put up rocks again, it's going to fall to 25%. Even if it had a Shuka Berry, it's not going to have enough health left to tank an Earth Power even with the Shuka Berry. I don't care about Orbeetle. I don't care about Septile. I don't care about Pyroar. I don't care about Umbreon. So I'm basically at the point in the game where I'm ready now to come in with Diancie and try and sweep. And so I just want to get rocks back up for just that little bit of extra chip. Make sure there's no sashes hanging in the back. Because Pyroar hasn't actually taken a hit yet from anything. He's been able to avoid all the hazards. But I take this body press because, again, I don't care. I come in with Mega Diancie, and then I very, very freely, because Orbeetle, again, has no way to pressure Diancie, I very freely get to click Rock Polish here. But I'm not going to Mega Evolve yet. There's no reason to weaken my defenses in front of something that I don't want to have to worry about. So Rock Polish is free. I'm faster than everything now, guaranteed. Sceptile Megas, which is great for me because now Moonblast is super effective and Sceptile is immediately gone. I don't think it was going to survive, even if it didn't Mega Evolve. I think I just do too much damage. Excadrill comes in. Again, not concerned about it. Earth Power is free. It has no options. I see that it's not Shuka Berry. I don't know what the item was, but it wasn't Shuka Berry, so that's good to know. And so now his pieces are starting to break. Umbreon can take a hit, but Umbreon can't do anything back because Magic Bounce prevents it from toxic using on me. Foul Play doesn't do anything. It could theoretically have Iron Tail as a very specific counter to Diancie, but it's not a very great option, and it doesn't have it. It's just traditional support Umbreon, and so it's just in a really bad spot here. It's basically trying to PP stall me, but it doesn't recover enough health to accomplish that goal. And so he's going to go for the double protect here because he's kind of forced to. But I get enough high enough roll on the Moonblast that this is gone, and or I crit it, so I guess that helps. But it was a roll, and not that it was doing anything anyway. Silvally is too low. Moonblast is free. Moonblast will KO. Nothing Silvally can do about that. Orbeetle is going to come back in, but again, Orbeetle just doesn't have a way to pressure Diancie, so I don't really care that Orbeetle's back in this game. I'm just going to Power Gym it. It might survive by 2 HP, but again, it doesn't really bother because it does body press for negligible damage. Power Gym finishes it, and then all that's left is the Pyroar. And again, I guarantee outspeed. It doesn't have heavy duty boots, so it takes 25% from the rocks, and then Power Gym's easily going to do 75%, and it's gone and out of the way. So this was really just a very clean game plan I had in mind, and then he didn't have the right pieces brought to address it. Not that he really had a lot of great options. Lele was going to be his best bet just because it turns into a guessing game, and guessing games can always go in anyone's favor. Unfortunately for him, he doesn't bring it. His only option, once I saw this team, was really to have a physical Sceptile that could click Earthquake and catch me by surprise and maybe break Muck. But then it struggles against Skarmory unless, again, it's mixed. He basically needed a mixed set on either the Sceptile or the Silvally. Nothing else had the move pool to really break me. And so when he wasn't doing any of those things, my game plan from turn one just was stack hazards, and it maintained stacking hazards. So I just kept hazard stacking until things broke, and then Diancie came in and cleaned up. And so all in all, a very clean 6-0 victory for my team. Diancie got to put in a lot of work. Dragapult continues to sit the bench, and then other pieces get partial usage as needed in this matchup. So that's week 2. I'll be back next week with week 3.